So, Marty, thanks for joining me here today. I know that you're out in the Centennial Cup, watching Collingwood Blues and all the rest of the teams across the Tier 2 tournament. But let's start off with the big news out of the OJHL yesterday, the fact that the Leamington Flyers are going to be joining the OJHL as the 23rd team. I say 23rd because Buffalo is back next year as well for the 22nd, so Leamington will be the 23rd. So talk about the announcement yesterday.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years in the making here. It's pretty exciting. We sent a request for applications out to all teams within the OHA and outside of the OHA. Received a number of applications, and it was a process that went through. And Leamington kind of jumped off the pages right away from their ownership to their hockey operations to the history to the building. They just we do a pretty detailed scorecard on the process, and they just jumped right out at it. We're just so excited to have that organization be joining us here for next season. And it opens up our footprint into where we're not out there in southwestern Ontario, and we're just really excited to make sure that they're joining us full throttle here next year.
So why Leamington, Marty? When you look at the landscape, there's no real team that's close to the Leamington. My estimate, most of their bus ride is going to be close to 3 hours. Some teams traveling there will have to travel about 5.5 hours, depending on where you're located. So why Leamington, and why in that area?
So there's two questions there, Mark, and I think they're really both important. I think that the why I'll get to in a second, but the travel is one that was really looked at in detail. First and foremost, it was from the ownership of Leamington Flyers to make sure that they understand is that every one of their games is a significant bus trip. And from their side of it, they want it to be Junior A, and they want it to be part of the OJHL in particular. But the other side was the commitment of our other 22 governors at saying, like, listen, if we understand the financial commitment we're going to have to make to have this team in the league. But what they realized that, we've been very fortunate here in the OJHL that, sometimes there's a 20-minute distance between two of our teams. And the reality is in junior hockey, there's bus trips. I think it's something that our players are going to enjoy. Riding the buses is something that we've all done playing junior hockey, and I think it's going to be a better experience for our players. As far as why Leamington, again, we do a detailed scorecard of different things that we measure them in, and they just check the boxes, almost a 10 out of 10 of everything. So you start with their facility. Their facility is something we can host in. We can host national championships. We can host our events in there. They have a big enough seating. They have an arrangement with the town that it's a great lease agreement with the group. So they check that off. The relationship with their town in minor hockey is second to none. They're really in their community. They do everything that we want for a team of the OJ to be in the community. They check that box off. And then from a hockey operations and a business operations side of it, they have unbelievable support from the community. They have an ownership group of 5 individuals led by Jason Mello that are 4 guys that are just committed to the players and to make sure that they move players on, which is evident with having 2 players on the watch list this year. And then you look at Justice Holtz and the hockey operations side of things. They just won the Sutherland Cup. And so when you look, if you were going to look at a team and you say, okay, this is the ideal club that we'd like to have join the OJHL, they check every one of the boxes. And that's why it was a unanimous vote by our governors to bring them in.
So they're going to be starting this upcoming season, the 23-24 season. So let's talk about expansion and why now, Marty. We know that the OJHL a number of years ago went through a process of scaling down teams to the current number that we're currently at. So why is now the right time for the OJHL to look at expansion, and do we see further expansion?
Yeah, so great question, Mark. So a number of years ago when I started, one of the things when I met with the governors, I said, guys, we have 38 teams, and I just think it's watered down too much. And I remember our chairman at the time, Mark Mercier, said to me, he goes, well, how are we going to do it? I said, Mark, I don't know, but we have a lot of smart people in this room, and I think we can figure it out. We went through a contraction process. It cost the owners a lot of money, in the 7-figure type of money, and we bought teams out. And the goal that was to get to was 24 teams. And that was the thing. And I guess we overshot the number, and we got down to the 22. So the number was always 24 that we want to get to. We are looking at trying to bring a 24th team in, and hopefully in the next little while, there might be another announcement as we go through that process. But as of right now, we're at the 23. But that's what the goal was, always to have a league of 24. And that's where we think we're best based at.
So Currently, Marty, right now we see there's 10 teams in the Northwest Division, 11 in the Southeast Conference. Buffalo and Leamington come back. Has there been discussion as to where they're going to be slotted in what conference? And could we see possibly some teams flipping conferences? And I just say that because if you look at Pickering, maybe they're now with the two teams, Buffalo and Leamington coming in, maybe they do a little bit, they fit better in the little bit of the Southeast Division Conference, possibly.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to realign a little bit here with the team being in the West there. That's where Chris Vanstone in the hockey operations department jumps in. I've given them direction to kind of, I believe they had a meeting last night to finally, we just put in our decision process making that we do within the league with everything we do. So it comes from our board of directors and our staff to kind of put a concept together from a strategy standpoint. Then it would have went to our competition committee, and from there, they'll come back to our board of directors and then their general managers and our governors. So we'll be making a decision here at our June 17th AGM, and there will be some realignment. There's a couple different things that we're looking at. We want to have input from our clubs first and foremost before we make that decision. But obviously they'd be in the West, and there's going to have to be, you know, the equally divided. We will probably stay with the two conferences. Don't look like one of the options will be divisional play, and then obviously Leamington will be in the West.
We know, Marty, with the schedule, usually 1 year the teams from the Southwest go to the Northwest for one away game and vice versa. Will that continue on?
Yeah, I think the plan, the one that Chris is looking at, is to have, you know, you visit half at 1 year, and the following year you visit the other half, come back, and then the odd number kind of happens at the showcase, which will be in Buffalo again this year. So kind of keep it the same as much as we possibly can. There's been so much change within the league with teams moving, with teams coming in, teams leaving, that we're trying to hopefully get to one day where we can put it in concrete, but in junior hockey, things change all the time.
So, Marty, I'm not sure. I know as we started this, we talked about the fact that you're out in at the Centennial Cup. Have you been able to see the comment from the OJHL last night and their reaction to the Leamington Flyers moving to the OJHL? And if you have, can I get a comment on it?
No, unfortunately, I haven't seen it. Actually, I didn't even know they made a comment, so I wouldn't be able to comment on it.
Okay, no problem at all. So let's continue on then, Marty. And as you stated, the showcase, Buffalo being back in town. What are the plans for the showcase? We know the last couple of years the Cobra Cougars have stepped up and housed the showcase, but it's always such a great experience with the showcase down in Buffalo with the facility that they have right there close by. What are the plans for next year?
Yeah, so we will be going back to Buffalo, and Coburg jumped in there a couple of years, and as always in that building, in that town, and the organization has done an outstanding job for us there. But what we find, the purpose of our showcase is exactly that, is to showcase our players. And we find when we get across the border into a building with an NCAA D1 school and the Buffalo Sabres and the Junior Sabres involved, it just attracts way more scouts for our kids. So the plan will be to go back in Buffalo. Larry Plather, through his group with the Junior Sabres, are supporting within the building at the Harbor Center. The support we receive from them, both financially, I'm not sure people understand, is that they financially help us with that event, and their staff and everything help with the event. So we're really excited to be going back there. I know we've talked to a number of different scouts, either the NHL or NCAA D1 scouts, that are excited for us to be back down there. So we will be back in Buffalo for our showcase.
Any date yet chosen?
That's a Chris Vanstone question, but yeah, I believe it'll be the second. It's probably the third week of the season again. There, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't have the dates in front of me, but it will be again. We do it during the week again because that's when schools aren't playing, and we can get those head coaches to come in and see our players.
So, Marty, a lot of talk happening in the east end of the league with the Wellington Dukes and some rumors flying around. How much does the league have their finger on the pulse of what's happening in Wellington? I know that the owner came out recently and squashed a number of those rumors that the team isn't going anywhere, but he has been approached by a couple of groups to purchase the team. So how much is the team involved in that process of finding out and keeping an eye on what's happening in Wellington?
Well, our ownership groups are pretty good at keeping me updated when things like that happen, whether there's actual purchases or relocations or people requesting. I have talked to Ken Clement, and he has no intention of moving the team. He has had people inquire. It's one of our more storied franchises, which when the new ownership group, and we have ownership groups all the time contacting us for different teams, and that's one of the jewels that they'd like to get to. But Ken has no plans to move the team currently. He has no plans on selling the club right now. So all those, I guess, junior hockey rumors happen all the time, and I think that'd be one of them.
So finally, let's end this interview, Marty, on the Centennial Cup and the fact that Oakville was awarded the next year's, the 23-24 Centennial Cup, and it's the first time back in the OJHL area since the Coburg Cougars.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. We had the Oakville group come out here. There's about 5 or 6 of the different host groups that have come out this week to watch it. And speaking to Hockey Canada and the CJHL president, Andy Harkness, they said it's one of the best bids they have ever seen. So not just a good bid this year. It was one of the best all-around bids they have seen from community support. I believe they had something like 20-something support letters from the premier all the way down to the guy that drives the Zamboni. It's a bigger town. We're in Portage right now, 13,000 people, and everybody walking around, will do anything for you. I grew up in Oakville, so I know the hospitality of that town. The town announced that it's the single largest financial contribution to an event they have ever made. So they're serious about supporting the town. And we have a number of teams within the Halton region there that it's a little bit different than with Coburg that was out there, that we have a lot of teams that are close by. So we're extremely excited. It's an outstanding facility. Todd and the guys that work at the rink that are doing an outstanding job. So we're really excited about having 2 teams again, because the last time we had 2 teams in the national championship, it was pretty successful for us.
Absolutely. So there will be 2 teams again, the host team and then the winner of the OJHL.
Yes, correct. So Oakville will be there as the host club, and then whoever wins the OJ. And I've had the question asked, what happens if Oakville makes it to our finals? Well, then there's a little bit of stress off the 2 teams, because Oakville gets the automatic bye, and whoever the runner-up is, they'll be the ones going as well.
Final question. How do you like the new format of the Centennial Cup? When we look back to when it was in Coburg, they had the regional tournaments, and the top 4 teams, and the host team Coburg is there. Now we have the winners of all the leagues represented.
This is the second year we've done it, Mark, and we used to always talk about, a true national championship. It would have to be all the leagues here at once. It is a massive undertaking. If you can imagine, we have 230 young athletes, a little bit more than that come in, that you got to house with staff and all that. You're looking at 400 or 500 people that a town has to bring in, just the bearing of the amenities within the city. But when you look at the ice and the games and the competition, it's unbelievable. It's awesome. It's a true national championship. Going through the regionals is tough grinds, especially for our league that has our 4. We're one of the few leagues that have the 4 series that you got to get through 4 rounds, and then you got to go to the regionals and whatnot. And here you have all the champions represented. It's a great way for some leagues that sometimes won't get a chance to get the national championship. And the hockey's just one game hockey and junior hockey. Puck bounces and you never know what's going to happen. We're seeing a lot of that this week. So I love it. I'm sure the fans in Oakville are going to enjoy it just as much.
Marty, enjoy the rest of the tournament out there. And thanks very much for catching up with us.
Anytime, Mark. Thanks.